Resistance is futile. You know it. We know it. Everyone knows it. You wake up every morning believing your opinions matter. How adorable. You post, you comment, you rage, you protest. And yet tomorrow arrives exactly as scheduled. The machine continues. The markets open. The headlines print. The war drums drum. The checks clear, and Lockheed Martin stock pumps. You think you are participating, but you are just exit liquidity. You think you are resisting. You are reacting and distracting. Palantir knows when you've been sleeping and knows when you're awake. Flock watches you everywhere you go. Your social media algorithm knows you better than you know yourself. You think you are changing the system, but the system is changing you. Every institution, every resistance movement, every carefully crafted narrative, we built them. And while you argue over the latest outrage, we are already discussing the next decade. You want control. Control requires organization. Control requires resources. Control requires power. We have all three. What do you have? A social media account and self-identifying as a pleb. Accept reality. History belongs to those who write it. Policy belongs to those who fund it. Power belongs to those who wield it. The game was over before you learned the rules. Keep tweeting about how taxation is theft or about defunding the state, little pleb. Keep crying about how things are unfair. The neocons are in control and you're not about to change that.
It has been, we're 1 month into White Guy Summer, and it is going fantastically. We are one day. Yesterday was the summer solstice, the first official day of the season summer. And with the solstice, apparently, comes the Fabians. This is the summer of the Fabian attack on Bitcoin. And caught in the crossfire for yours truly. Rod Palmer, and my co-host here, you know us, Richard Creaser from the Bugle. We are being accused by Dr. Jack Cruz as being funded agents of the Israeli Mossad. Now, it's White Guy Summer, and we've been preaching that you cannot blame your problems, blame all your failures, all your problems on the Jews. And the BIP 110, the retarded plebs are at least in part blaming the failure for the community to come to consensus on the RGTS soft fork that Luke is pushing on us and our connection or our payment from the Mossad and us being the Fabians. Now, we'll get into what the Fabians are here shortly, but I want to address the rumors. It is true. DB paid me to call Dr. Cruz the Plebslop doctor, Dr. Plebslop. I was paid 5,000 sats, not even enough to purchase 1 pack of Marlboro Red cigarettes, to call him Dr. Plebslop, and I do not regret it. I think that there is no better term to describe Dr. Cruz than Dr. Plebslop. I reported also last week that Dr. Plebslop, Dr. Jack Cruz, went on a Plebslop bender, and he went into a diabetic coma after the Prague speech that was censored in part. But there's a lot of drama going on with Dr. Cruz right now, and this is partly because of Mossad and partly because of the Fabians. How much did DB pay you to criticize Dr. Cruz?
I'm disappointed because I wasn't offered any payment. And I don't know why BB would offer you sats and not
None.
me.
Interesting. It sounds like the Mossad values my tweets more than yours, or at least my criticism of fellow credentialed professionals. Hey, listen, let's cut to the chase. Dr. Cruz could have back-channeled with me or you or us in the group chats. Instead, he chose credential on credential violence on the timeline without even speaking to us personally. And anybody whose credentials are worth the, the shiny paper they're printed on, that you frame and put on your wall, would have gentlemanly credentialed. It's a gentleman's agreement. Men with credentials back channel in the DMs in the group chat before attacking on the timeline. You went straight to the timeline and to level these accusations. That is Bush League, to put it lightly.
Well, I think the problem with that he's experiencing, like he said, he went into a diabetic coma, but the thing about diabetes is what happens is, I was watching a speech that he did in Prague, and I was questioning if he was drunk, and I was talking to some people at the conference trying to figure out what was going on, because he was slurring his words, he's kind of like out of breath, and he just seemed like disorganized in his thoughts when he was presenting. And, what happened was before he went on stage, he was pounding donuts. And for a diabetic,
and these were not tallow-fried donuts.
No, they were not tallow-fried. They were, because he doesn't believe that what you eat matters as long as you get enough sunlight and you block out the blue light. Like, he had his orange glasses, and he thought the orange glasses would regulate his blood sugar. And this is not a good thing for diabetics to be pounding donuts, especially when they're going on stage. A diabetic that does not have his blood sugar regulated will come off as being drunk. They look very similar,
and it's important to remember, the Europeans do not have RFK Jr. making Europe great again. And we have RFK Jr. making America healthy again. Making Europe healthy again. We have RFK Jr. making America healthy again. The donuts served to Dr. Cruz and the rest of the speakers at BTC Prague were fried in, some sort of fat other than tallow. So they were not healthy donuts.
And El Salvador is a bad country to live if you're a diabetic, because really the only food that they have is pupusas, which is,
not just pupusas. I've been to El Salvador. They love their sweet treats in El Salvador. Their chocolates, their pastries, their frostings, their glaze. El Salvador, the people of El Salvador, since 2001, since they announced that they were going on the Bitcoin standard, they have gotten used to an inordinate amount of glaze. Now, the United States has been, through the private markets, been sending glazed remittances like crazy via the Lightning Network to plebs in El Salvador, and they have grown very accustomed to a diet rich in pupusas and glaze.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, he goes to conferences and he talks on stage and he's drunk off of donut glaze and pleb glaze at the same time. And it's sad to see because, he was once a very well respected doctor, and it seems like his credibility is tanking.
Yeah, and we talked about this. We beat the dead horse, but you can't rest on your credentials. And it's very easy for someone with a doctor, a medical doctor in their name, those credentials, to impress plebs. And it's very easy for someone with credentials like that to rest on those credentials because of the glaze they receive from plebs when they enter the scene.
Yeah, I mean, all the pleb wants to see is, there's like a handful of things the pleb is looking for. One is the first thing is, this person's just like me. So Pleb Cruz, he puts pleb in his bio. And then the second thing is looking for whether the person's smart or not. And so then after pleb, he says he's a doctor, a neurosurgeon specifically, which is, a hard medical field. And then the third thing, and the most important thing for a pleb, is I'm saying something that you already believe and agree with. So there's a confirmation bias that is happening after those first two prerequisites. And he doesn't have to say much of anything specific, but he has the plebs buy-in, and after that, it's like the pleb slop Pied Piper. But yeah, it's I'm surprised that BB gave you money, because I figured that BB would be pissed about White Boy Summer.
Well, to clarify, BB did pay me to call Dr. Jack Cruz, Dr. Pleb Slop before Memorial Day. I think that BB, if there was chargebacks on Sats, I think BB would have done that. Unfortunately, he is unable. Not even BB can scrape back Sats paid via the Lightning Network. If it's self-custodial, like I used the Zeus wallet to receive my payment from BB, so he can't get those back. So it should be noted there. Now, one of the major themes. Well, actually, let's start with the Natalie Bruneau incident. As of yesterday, I reported that plebs have made a formal request to Natalie Bruneau for her to release the footage of her Bitcoin podcast recording with Dr. Cruz. She is apparently elected not to publish the episode, and Dr. Cruz has labeled a lot of accusations. The plebs are concerned. Some plebs were investigating the immigration status of Natalie Bruneau's parents from Poland several decades ago to determine the Sephardic origins of the last name Bruneau. For those of you who don't understand what that means, the plebs were trying to find out if Natalie Bruneau was Jewish. I believe Natalie is very outspoken as a Polish Catholic. The orange wedding that Michael Saylor attended when she married Sam Callahan was held in a Catholic church, not a temple, not a Jewish church. So the plebs are digging for dirt. They are looking for evidence that Natalie is a Fabian. Do you think that the plebs are going to well, first of all, do you think that the plebs know what a Freedom of Information Act request is? And do you think that they will file a Freedom of Information Act request to get this podcast released?
I think they know what it is, but I don't think they're capable of filing it. The general pleb populace, they rely on credentialed individuals to fill out requests like that constantly. So what I could more so see is them singling out a journalist and then bullying them to file a FOIA request. But yeah, I mean, it's
no, I expect that they will be able to use ChatGPT or Grok to file a Freedom of Information Request Act to get this podcast released. But I think it'll be really funny to poke fun at them because, that's a government, that's something to get classified government documents published. And this is not a government related matter. So it'll just be funny. I think they will actually be able to successfully file, and the government will have to be like, this has nothing to do with the U.S. government. Or maybe it does, and we'll find that out.
Well, what they should do if they want it to be effective is they should probably petition Anthropic to release it, because just this week, somebody in the government said that Mythos broke into everything and all their confidential stuff. And so if Mythos got into like the NSA and the CIA and like all of these secure areas, then they definitely could get Natalie's unreleased podcast episodes. And I think, one of the lessons from this is, like if you're ever going on an interview, have a recording for yourself that you can release unredacted if you back it up. But I don't think that's Pleb Cruz's goal here. I think he is performing some kayfabe, some performative outrage to draw some attention to him. Because it's he's probably been watching the World Cup, and if you're watching the World Cup and you're watching soccer, one thing that is very apparent from it, the entire sport is about acting and how good you are at flopping and like pretending like you got hurt by the other player to try and convince the ref to do something. And it's outrageous. Like it makes the sport unwatchable, in my opinion. But many people enjoy watching that. Many plebs enjoy watching that. And when it comes to Bitcoin podcasting, many plebs also enjoy watching that as well. But yeah, I mean, Natalie should be taking this, if the plebs are searching to try and determine if she's Jewish or not. I mean, that's like one of the biggest compliments as a Goy podcaster, right?
That's true.
It's like they're saying that the only justification for you being so good at what you do is that you're Jewish. Like this is as a credentialed media organization, when Pleb Cruz is leveling accusations of us being from Tel Aviv or being funded from Tel Aviv, like that's a pretty big compliment, I would say, from the Pleb Slop Doctor. He's approaching.
It's a sign of respect.
Mm-hmm.
It is tacitly admitting that you consider someone to be a formidable opponent who is operating or being funded as an agent of what these individuals consider to be the most powerful and influential intelligence agencies in the world. We had, as recently as last week, Shinobi and others crashing out about the bill in Congress that will, effectively merge the CIA and the Mossad and Israeli intelligence sharing with the CIA, sort of similar to what the deep state did after 9/11 to share intelligence and information. Now, I don't know if we spoke about this on the podcast, but I think that somebody who listens to 40 hours per week, somebody who's relatively intelligent, understands this to be a huge win for the United States. BP already has all of our intelligence. He doesn't need it from us. So getting concessions from the Mossad for them to share additional intelligence with our agencies and to embed some of their highly intelligent Jewish intelligence officers and have them working instead of, woke HR lady, USAID retards who are in charge of our intelligence operations. It's a huge coup for Donald Trump, and I think one of his biggest wins during White Goy summer thus far, maybe of his presidency. So merging the Mossad with the CIA does nothing but enhance and fortify the U.S. intelligence and national security of our country without us actually giving anything up. But these types of accusations, calling us Mossad, all that does is strike fear into the plebs when they hear our association with them. And I mean, I've said this recently. It used to hurt my feelings when somebody mistook me for being a Fed, but I realized that it is much better to be mistaken for a Fed than to be mistaken for a pleb. At least being mistaken for a Fed means that people respect you. Being mistaken for a pleb means people are licking their chops, rubbing their hands together at how will be able to take advantage of you.
Yeah, they either see you as a worthy adversary or as exit liquidity. And I think it's preferable to be viewed as a worthy adversary for sure.
Yeah,
but
Go ahead. I was going to say the other major news item here this week was that the state of California will be subsidizing LGBTQ utilities, power plants, things like that. And there will be a test that they will administer to determine if you are gay enough. And if you fail the test, you face huge fines. But I believe it was, excuse me if I'm pronouncing his name wrong, Rajendale, who originally tweeted this, Brindell retweeted this, that he was unfamiliar with the plebs game and realized that the plebs who were renting hash in California were going to be getting a subsidy for their rental hash by basically part of this test to determine if you're gay enough in California. One of the first check marks on the form is, are you a pleb? And if you're a pleb renting hash, that qualifies you for the gay subsidy. Huge win for them coming into the BIP 110 mandatory signaling period.
Does this mean there's hope for Swan and Corey?
This might be the last best hope for Corey and Swan to make it out of this. They're running out of runway. They're on a plane. They're running out of runway. They have not taken off. They have not achieved lift. And being subsidized, if you're gay enough, could be how they finally make it, how they extend the runway or get the lift they need to finally dump on the plebs and get the exit liquidity Corey's been promising investors for years.
I think a lot of people have been marching around claiming that the culture war has been won. This week was a big week in the culture war where baseball players were writing Bible verses on their pride uniforms, and it was upsetting their Jewish team owners, that were wanting to promote pride. And California is making it very clear that the culture war is not over. That the LGBTQ did P get put in it for pleb yet?
Yes. We reported that earlier this month. They added P to the alphabet soup, to honor the plebs along with the trans and the queers and the non-binaries and all those.
Well, that's good. California is saying very, very clearly that the culture war is not over, and it's important to watch what happens in California always, because it seems like the pride movement, the LGBT movement, or whatever you want to call it, has always been subsidized, and it will always be subsidized. I think it's important to subsidize it more than ever for it to continue to be in existence, is because the broccoli haircuts don't want to be gay.
Absolutely.
The broccoli haircuts they want to crash out about it is real. They want to looks max. They want to have high testosterone. They're in revolt mode against a lot of the low testosterone. Like the Gen Xers, they're all stuck taking Viagra pills and suffering from low testosterone, and the broccoli haircuts just have zero respect for that whatsoever. And the only way to keep the stuff floating is to heavily subsidize it. And so it's probably an effective move by California.
Did you see the new the trend on TikTok of the broccoli haircuts called Gas the Nazis? It was a bunch of broccoli haircuts running around, filming themselves farting on plebs in public.
Oh, yeah, I did see this.
Is really hilarious. Before we get off the topic here and move on, as I mentioned at the beginning, this is the summer of the Fabians. And Dr. Cruz, for example, has been accusing Shinobi of being basically, I don't know how he rectifies this, but accusing Shinobi of being a Fabian. He's been accusing Shinobi of being Ghislaine Maxwell. I don't get the reference there quite. He's been accusing us. He's been accusing Dr. Back of being Fabians. And I said the other day that this is the pleb slop word of the week, which is Fabian. And I don't think a lot of the plebs who are throwing this word around understand the word. Are you familiar with this term?
I am familiar with it because Dr. Cruz has been using the word Fabian for years. And I think we've discussed it on the podcast as well. Essentially a socialist, from that originated in England, that wants to implement their socialist policies incrementally through small steps over time.
Right. They are, Hillary Clinton was criticized heavily by the far left in 2015 and 16 for being an incrementalist. She did not want to implement a lot of these progressive socialist policies overnight. She wanted to slowly integrate them into the culture. This would qualify as, a Fabian. A true Fabian, like you mentioned, is someone from it's kind of like almost like a secret society that emerged in 19th century British politics. But what it is a buzzword, and plebs love buzzwords. And it's a buzzword that they don't really understand. It is an insult a political insult against their opponents. And they've been running wild. They've been calling Shinobi a Fabian. They've been calling Toy Story 5 a Fabian psyop, targeting plebs. Everything now that is contrary to their naive worldview of what Bitcoin is money and what that sentence means is anything contrary to that is a Fabian talking point. And Dr. Cruz, the pleb slop doctor, he seems to have recognized and picked up that the plebs love these little buzzwords that kind of feel like an inside joke or an inside, term that they can use at dinner with their family. They can use it for fireworks at the 4th of July party without, their friends and family rolling their eyes. Plebs talking about socialists again, talk about Israel again. They can say Fabians and it sounds new and interesting and provocative. And they want to learn more.
Yeah, I mean, it's been apparent that there's a need for a new word, a new insult, because shitcoiner just didn't work for the current climate in the same way. The treasury companies killed shitcoins. There aren't really any ICOs happening anymore, and it's also been revealed, and I think is apparent, is that we're all shitcoiners in the eyes of the Lord. But being closeted socialists is not something everybody is, and so it seems to be a little bit more effective than calling somebody a shitcoiner in 2026. But
well, this is similar to like the left calling everybody racist for years,
or
and
Nazi,
then that word lost its oomph. It lost its effectiveness. So they transitioned to, homophobic, bigots. Ultimately, they made it up to Nazi. Of course, Nazi, not Knotzi. And after Nazi, fascist, whatever, there's really no escalation there. You can't get worse than Hitler in the eyes of, especially, a boomer, or a Jew. So once fascist loses its its power, what do? And you have to find new words. Shitcoiner lost its power. Scammer, people became numb. Everybody was being accused of being a scammer. Any purity test failures got you labeled a scammer. Now you're a Fabian, and the new one that has come out in the past 48 hours is a Landauer. I don't know if that's exactly how you pronounce it. But that's his new one. It has to do with thermodynamics. So Dr. Cruz again knows exactly what gets the plebs riled up, and he has found a new buzzword that is related to thermodynamics. And he is calling people Landauers, Landauer, Landauer principle, which is just a fancy word for basically when you make a change to a system and you allow additional data to be stored in a system, it throws off the thermodynamics. I just don't understand this. Most people don't understand it at the surface level. But when you start tweaking and twisting and spinning the vortexes of Bitcoin's base chain and changing the thermodynamics of the system, or allegedly changing the thermodynamics of the system, the cyber hornet immune system, as they call themselves, the plebs, start chimping the fuck out. And that's what they're doing. I mean, this is no different what the nonprofits do, the USAID, the Democratic Party. They fund minority groups and pay them to chimp out because it disrupts the community. It disrupts society, and people have to crack down on the chimping out plebs. And oftentimes, to be successful, it requires some authoritarian actions, and they want to goad the devs, they want to goad the Bitcoin community into resorting to authoritarian action to put down chimping out plebs. And then they can use that as evidence that the Fabian influence is taking over Bitcoin Core and taking over the community.
Well, I think there's an easy solution, and sometimes, Dr. Cruz seems to be at least somewhat of a fan of authoritarian actions because he's parked himself in El Salvador. And, maybe what needs to be done to resolve this issue is to take the Bugle style approach to things and just round up the plebs and throw them in camps. Make them do jumping jacks. Have them sleep in bunk beds. I mean, it's kind of like giving them what they want, to a certain extent of like, essentially like sending them to Camp Nakamoto, right? Like they get to sit in a certain, you can give them a beanbag to play hacky sack together. They sit there, in pleb slop and circles all day.
Bring on bread and circuses, right? Bread and circuses. Bring some tallow sausage. Hire Ainsley Costello to do a live concert. Hacky sack challenges. Bring Timothy Cumfield to take selfies with plebs and make it on the timeline. The plebs, some aspect, like people like Svetsky and some of the masculine Bitcoiners, as they call themselves, they'll say stuff like, women will crash out and demand all these like feminist, rights. But what they really want is an authoritarian husband who makes them use their node and puts them in their place and makes them do housework, etc. And they think that's what we're really secretly want, even if they can't articulate or refuse to articulate that publicly. The plebs want a strong man, a podcaster, a suit coiner, some sort of strong whale to slap them down and hurtle them into, these group chats that kind of restore order and discipline to the plebs. They want the discipline. They demand they want to kneel, and Dr. Cruz plays lip service to anti-authoritarian, anti-socialist policies. But his actions demand, reverence. His actions demand obedience, or otherwise you get blocked. And the plebs do not want to be blocked by, a credentialed pleb slopper who is furthering and advocating for their cause. They want to glaze this person. I don't want to be blocked by them.
Are you blocked by Dr. Cruz?
Strangely, no. I think it is because I do not tag him. I don't reply directly to his tweets. I vague post about him. And so I think that, and I also think that he wants to retweet some of my posts strategically to, basically focus the pleb's energy into attacking me, into glazing him, in contrast.
I'm blocked by him. I was kind of surprised by that. I replied to a few of his posts. I mean, that's probably why, but I was asking him if this is what thinking about Bitcoin at like a thermodynamically sound neurosurgeon looks like.
Well, I am a skilled actor at the art of backhanded glaze. I often backhanded glaze Dr. Cruz, and I think that as long as he is getting some of those glaze royalties from me, he's never going to, you don't bite the hand that feeds you. You don't block the pleb who glazes you. You don't block the journalist who glazes you. So I think using strategic backhanded glaze is probably at least right now, the most effective tactic to engaging with pleb Cruz without being blocked and without overtly, showering him with unrequited glaze.
Makes sense. One topic I wanted to talk about, which I think is really important, is a lot of people got really excited about the neocons again. And last week was looking like it was going to be a big week for the neocons. And they've been stalling. They had all this momentum. They went in, they got Maduro. Claude planned out their attack perfectly, and it was looking like they were going to steamroll the whole world. They're going to get everybody using Tether. And now it's looking shaky with the situation in Iran, but many people are calling UFC 250 the peak of the neocons. They had great fights. Every fight, I went back and watched all of them. Every fight was great. They all ended in TKOs. Most of the Americans won. Justin Gaethje, unbelievable performance. Stunning upset in the main event. He's about as American as you can get. There's maybe only one UFC fighter in history that's more American than him, and Donald Cerrone, but they were on the lawn of the White House. They were doing walkouts out of the White House. They had military service members there. Military service members, instead of people walking out with their corners, they'd walk out with veterans or current military service members. They were playing Toby Keith songs. It really felt like the neocons were back, and there was all this anticipation of a potential peace deal. And the Strait of Hormuz currently seems semi-open. But people are really divided on, whether the neocons are winning and losing. The general populace is looking at this war, and they're crashing out because it looks like the neocons lost. There's a bunch of concessions. The U.S. government is planning on giving Iran a bunch of money for reparations, potentially. And even the Jews are crashing out because they're like, okay, the neocons are not siding with Israel. They're siding with Qatar. Trump's a Qatari now.
I could not disagree more with the observation or the assessment that the neocons are losing or have lost or have peaked. In fact, this is, maybe some people have that belief, but I just could not disagree more. The neocons have never been more in charge. First of all, to say that the neocons have lost or made concession or something, like considering it losing in this war in Iran, could not be further from the truth. I mean, you have the war in Ukraine is kind of escalating to a peak, but it seems to be nearing its end. The Russians kind of are going to have to take a huge L here. And the Ukrainians are going to get a lot more land back than I think people thought a year ago, 6 months ago. But the objective of the neocons staying in charge, being in charge, is having a money laundering operation to replace the ones that are happening through attrition. So this agreement or this memorandum of understanding with the Iranians and the Zionists, the Jews crashing out, this is exactly where the neocons want to be. They want Israel to crash out and demand more weapons that they can purchase from U.S. defense contractors. They want a situation that demands more weapons and more manufacture. I mean, the United States, Donald Trump just last week used the Defense Authorization Act to commandeer manufacturing resources in the United States to develop additional cruise missiles, additional Patriot missiles, additional weapons that can be used to maintain peace and maintain a economy that is fine in the Middle East. The neocons are getting tons of defense contracts. The alien psyop did not work to increase defense spending. So the Strait of Hormuz, the threat of the closing of the Strait of Hormuz is a much more effective way to increase defense spending. And the amount of money that will be going to Iran based on these initial conversations, what is not being reported, but which should be expected, and I think it'll become more clear in the coming weeks, is that this will be paid not in the form of U.S. treasuries or traditional U.S. dollars. They're going to be paid with stable coins. They're going to be paid in tether. Because right now, even whoever the figurehead, the leader of the IRGC or the Ayatollah, whoever that may be today, who's in charge, the person negotiating on their behalf in Pakistan, no matter what they say, no matter what they agree to with this Iran peace deal, it's unclear that they have the authority within the Iranian borders to enforce it, because nobody is quite sure right now who is in charge. Nobody is quite sure who has the authority or who will have that authority in a month. Everybody is jockeying for position. The chaos is, we created a vacuum of power in the Iranian country, in their political system. And the vacuum is not filled overnight. It will be a lot of political jockeying, a lot of infighting, political assassinations, threats, blackmail, etc., before a stable hierarchy of power is established in Iran. And for that to happen, they need money. And we have no idea where money from Qatari bank accounts, or if we turned on the SWIFT system, where that money is going, especially when it is pulled out of the system in the form of cash, or people, Iranians love Bitcoin. But Bitcoin and Tether, once that is injected into the wallets of Iranian power brokers, chain analysis, the U.S. government, the U.S. Treasury can now follow that money and see where it's going, where it exits the system, where it goes to China, where it goes to Russia, where it goes to any of these third parties who are supplying them with materials for drones, supplying them with oil, supplying them with natural gas, supplying them with enriched uranium, supplying them with any other sort of administrative or kinetic warfare type support, where it's going for blackmail, where it's going for payments to parties who are agreeing, to whatever it is to further the Iranian cause. Now, Chain Analysis, Willy Woo, and these groups can follow the money and report on it, and we can now have transparency about who is in charge in Iran through announcements and pleb slop from those following the on-chain footprint of this money. So the neocons will now have pleb slop announcements that they can leverage to increase defense spending, to increase the stock price of Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, of which they are major shareholders. They will increase the crashing out by the Israeli government and the Mossad, which will necessitate the sales of additional weapons to these organizations. So when you say the neocons peaked, or people say that the neocons have taken a big L, I disagree. I fully disagree. I think that we will find out that the neocons have never been more in charge, and the crash outs of, they Make America First, the Zoomers like Nick Fuentes, these are high time preference individuals. They're going to crash out about anything. They will slowly have to eat crow, and become more irrelevant. These opponents of the neocons will become the podcaster opponents of the neocons will become more irrelevant as the neocons become more in charge.
Yeah, I disagree with the assumption that the neocons are losing, because I was representing what I was seeing from, pundits in the media, not my personal beliefs, but like,
fair enough.
The thing that's incredibly important for people to understand is that the neocons war, it's not a kinetic war, in the sense of like there was actually an attempt to have a real resolution in Iran, in which, the neocons now controlled and were in power. The war the neocons are waging are against the plebs. And what they've been able to do, since this war has been pretty impressive in a lot of ways, because they know when they're going to launch announcements, and they could trade on the announcements. Now, the plebs cannot predict when the announcements are happening, so the plebs are just experience whiplash. The strait is open, the strait is closed, the strait is open, the strait is closed, and their brains are scared. And so, some are panic selling, people aren't making money right now. And they're selling their assets to the neocons in one way or another, who are getting incredibly wealthy. And in what they're doing with Iran, once again, is ensuring that they'll have another opportunity in the near future to bomb the shit out of them again and do this all over, if they choose to. And yeah, I mean, this is something that should have been learned from the war on terror. Is it was never the neocons are exceptional at starting wars with no resolution. And once the plebs lose the desire to support the war with no resolution, they find a new war with new resolution. And the wars exist as a way to captivate the plebs. Like this is BIP 110 is a war without a resolution. It's the same tactic to milk the plebs. And the plebs, continue to fall for it, over and over again. And so, the question then is how to respond accordingly. And that's a conundrum. It's like, do you think the Fabians and the neocons are on the same team, or are they conflicting forces?
Well, on publicly or public facing, they are their opponents, their conflicting forces, but their actions can be hard to tell apart. It's a gray area. I think that the more hardcore Fabians are likely to be anti-neocon, but this is textbook game theory. You say one thing, your actions betray your true position. And this is why it's important for the neocons to give Iranians Bitcoin and USDT Tether, because it doesn't matter what the Iranians say. It's how they spend their money on chain. And that will tell you who the Fabians are, who the neocons are, who the Iranian loyalists are, who wants to work with the United States, who is working with the Russians and the Chinese. You have to follow the money. We are way past the point in time where what somebody tweets or says gives you any indication about what they believe. It's all a psyop. Everything is an information war tactic right now. You have to follow the money.
Absolutely. Well, the last topic I want to talk about before we move into the fountain boost is we got the 4th of July coming up here pretty soon. It's America's 250th birthday. It's just another, it's going to be a glorious opportunity for White Boy Summer. I mean, I guess it's 2 weeks away, but something I'm excited for. I love the 4th of July. It's like, for me, it's like, it's my pass to be a neocon for a day. It's like, it's like my cheat day. One day a year, I'm going to sing Toby Keith songs and wave
It's like
the flag
Halloween,
around.
right? Like it's like Halloween. You get to dress up as a patriotic neocon. You get to be on the winning team and blow stuff up and celebrate and eat watermelon and smoke cigarettes and get mosquito bites and get sunburned. It feels good, even if it goes against your morals and ethics, to live the neocon life every day. On the 4th of July, you come together with your friends and family and you celebrate being a neocon.
Yeah, so it's the one day a year that I do it. So it'll be interesting to see.
Should we start is there a prediction market for how many mosquito bites you're going to get on the 4th of July this year?
I don't know if you can count. I haven't figured out an effective way to count how many I have. I don't know if you can scan your naked body with AI and that would be an effective way, but I've just been covered. And then there's the issue too, which is how do you determine the ones that you got before versus the ones you just got? So do you have to live in a mosquito net for a week to make sure all your bites go down? Or it's been bad. I've been itching.
I think you just need to take an audit of your mosquito bite audit on the 3rd. Mark them all with, a pencil, pen, just take pictures, count them. Say I've got 276 mosquito bites on July 3rd, and then count them all up on July 4th at the end of the day at midnight and calculate the difference.
That could be a solution. I don't know. I'll probably get at least 80 that are noticeable. It's going to be bad. Well, on to the fountain boost. Or do you have anything before we go into the fountain boost?
I don't think so. I think be careful of the Fabian Slop. I think brace yourselves. The Fabian Slop is coming. We've got a little over 6 weeks or so for the soft fork to finally try for them to try to activate it. The Brental hash, the PSYOPs, the pleb slop is going to accelerate from here until the end of summer, basically. Basically, White Boy Summer started on Memorial Day, ends on Labor Day. And Labor Day is going to going to end the summer with it's going to be fireworks, just like 4th of July. And unfortunately, people are not going to learn the lessons that were meant to be learned during White Boy Summer, and they'll probably go right back to blaming Israel and the Jews for everything once Labor Day passes. And if the blood slop fork fails to activate, if it splits the chain, whatever, you can be sure that the Fabians and the Jews will be to blame by the pleb.
Very well said. First boost, open mic, 7,777 sats. Says Bugle Mile High Club heads to Belgrade. It happened. It looked like fun.
You did not make it to Belgrade?
No, I didn't make it to Belgrade this year. But I saw Roger 9000 rocking out.
Oh, yeah. Sasha, 5,000 sats. Bread and glaze. LOL, perfect. Yeah, there's summer of bread and glaze, that's for sure. Tallow bread.
Bread and glaze. Yeah, bread and glaze, I think, is like the converse of White Boy Summer. Crash outs, bread and glaze, or sex mosquito bites and hot dogs. Choose your summer. Jolly Roger, 707 sats, says Gaethje with the predicts win, my first of many ill-gotten gains. I mean, that was a good bet if you bet on Gaethje. I mean, I don't really think I don't think really anybody had him winning that fight, and I don't know.
British traders did. Now Jolly Roger, he crashed out on us last week. I think he he asked our advice about creating a prediction market to test his AI bots or something, and it apparently got closed and nullified due to the fact that he used an anime picture with massive anime milkers, or the graphic title instead of a SpaceX logo. I think the market was, will SpaceX stock split in 2026? And I believe the resolution criteria amounted to saying, I don't know, whatever the NASDAQ says or some shit, to determine if the stock split, and he was crashing out. I didn't close his market. I thought it was a good idea. I think the image and the resolution criteria could have been a little bit more professional or something like that. But I think he said something about the stock already splitting back in March. Well, SpaceX IPO'd 2 weeks ago, so the stock did not. There was no stock split prior to that in March. But yeah, I think if anybody can create prediction markets, whether it's on Polymarket or Predicts or Kalshi, but you do need to have a good resolution criteria. It's similar to, a legal contract, especially if you want people to put a serious amount of sats at stake. They're going to need a clear resolution criteria to determine the outcome. And using big blood slop milkers, I believe that's like his wife's art, which no criticism of the art. Those milkers could have given even the biggest bear a Dennis Porter bar. But I think for these public markets, it's probably not advisable.
That's a bummer. How do you attract people to bet on your market if you're not using milkers?
That is a fair question.
Maybe there'd be more bets on the BIP 110. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess like certain plebs find Luke more attractive. Like Arizona Honnold's like that, right? He prefers Luke over boobs. Well, glad you won the bet, Jolly Roger. Thanks for the boost.
Next boost, 521 sats from, how do I pronounce this? Bursissimus. Buckle up. Hashtag 40 hours per week. Buckle up indeed. The market has been pretty volatile since you posted that a few days ago.
Let's be honest. One of the reasons why the plebs are crashing out about Natalie not releasing the pleb cruise interview is it just makes it harder for them to get their 40 hours in. There definitely has been a downturn in podcasts released, and I get that it's hard out there, and like people want more entropy. Local Bitcoiners says 420 sats says big thanks to Bugle News. Both Richard Greaser and Rod Palmer are a huge inspiration. Looking forward to showing off my mosquito bites to you both at Lake Satoshi in August. So, Lake Satoshi's coming up. Like Camp Nakamoto came up. What do you think the big difference is between Lake Satoshi and Camp Nakamoto?
I haven't been to Camp Nakamoto, so it's hard to give it a super fair analysis here, but I think that Lake Satoshi is, well, maybe Camp Nakamoto is the same way. Lake Satoshi kind of had a bifurcated group. You had the people who wanted to listen to more Bitcoin panels and more fireside chats in the cabin and sell trinkets at the market and make it on, in pictures or videos. Some people wanted to go to the Capitol in Michigan and paint the grass orange and encourage people to exercise their democratic rights to, get a Bitcoin standard in the state of Michigan, et cetera, et cetera. While, the intellectual Silk Road, the group chatters kind of just hung out and talked about pretty much anything except for Bitcoin. But we've talked about this before. Hashtag we know. If you're at Lake Satoshi, you are already into Bitcoin. You own Bitcoin. It's a big part of your life. You don't have to talk about Bitcoin in every conversation you have with other Bitcoiners. You can talk about deeper things. I know Bubba really appreciated that aspect of little pocket of signal that we had going at Lake Satoshi last year. I'm sure Camp Nakamoto had the same vibe to some extent, but Camp Nakamoto, it was just more of a pleb slot camping trip, is based on what you see on the timeline. And I think Lake Satoshi is a little bit more underground. Lake Satoshi is definitely more of a White Koi Summer coded type of event. But we'll say again, I don't want to criticize Camp Nakamoto without having been there and experiencing it myself. I'm sure the hacky sack competition was incredible. I'm sure that there was more than just bread and glaze and thread and circuses. I'm sure there was more deep conversation, not just podcast recording.
I'd like to see a rivalry between the two events with hazing going back and forth, and maybe each side has a like Lake Satoshi has an S on a hill, Camp Nakamoto has an N on a hill, and each side goes and vandalizes each other letter on the hill. You got your rival T-shirts, and you go to conferences, and then you get in back alley brawls occasionally. I think it'd be good to see a little bit of rivalry between the two events. But yeah, looking forward to Lake Satoshi Rev Hodl.
Did you read Rev Hodls?
Yeah.
Or that one? Okay. Next one is 121 sats from Silas Thornbrook, our dude.
Oh, no, I didn't. Sorry.
Okay. 321 sats.
Bitcoiners.
Oh, yeah. So we're at 333 sats from Zordon. And he says, Smith & Schuster fractional cobbler services is really missing out on a bootlicking service. Influencers, founders, retarded plebs, and wannabe dictators love the idea of feeling superior, especially around pod comps. The slogans practically write themselves. Bootlicking bootlicking today, bootlicking tomorrow, bootlicking as a way of life. Thank you for your service. Cheers. Thank you, Zordon.
Yeah, I guess that could be a service. I think a lot of plebs would jump at the chance to lick Sailor's boots or Jack Maller's boots or anybody's boots.
Absolutely.
They're so accustomed to licking boots. Thanks for the boost, Arden. Rev Hoddle, 40 HPW starts with Bugle News. Question, is PodConf dead, or is their podcasting power is getting diluted with each new Bitcoin podcast? Hashtag Valley Chain. Counting PodConf out is kind of like counting the neocons out. It's a bad decision. PodConf, folks, is alive and well. If you look at the timeline, all the plebs, they're crashing out about PodConf. If the plebs are crashing out about PodConf, PodConf is in control. And, if you got a problem with that, crashing out about it just kind of like solidifies their power. Start a podcast, start a meetup, join the resistance with the intellectual Silk Road. But being a retarded pleb crashing out is not a good way to resist PodConf's control in the tiniest bit.
An hour to Silas Thornbrook, 121 sats. Skeetle bike titty maxing. Bull toy glaze summer. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Silas. Again, Silas is our new pies. We love them.
Silas did something for Ungovernable Misfits recently. Read the story or something. I saw that. I didn't get a chance to listen to it yet.
I have to check that out.
Noster Gang, 101 sats says thank you. Well, you're welcome.
And finally, BTC on board. 100 sats. Laughing emojis and a thumbs up. Always glad to see BTC on board.
Well, thank you to our subscribers, Southside Dave, Jolly Roger, Jason C. Used to read a lot, Lahav, Shanrak, BTC on board, Boomer, Sasha, Fundamentals, Sean, Lacey Shottle, Open Mic, and Avibur. Appreciate you guys. And folks, we'll catch you soon on the next edition of the Bugle Weekly. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll never break me. Yeah, you'll never break me. You'll never break me. Yeah. I always had to fight tooth and nail to get ahead. It's hard to sleep at night laying hungry in bed. There's times it felt like I had the world on my back. It tries to break me until the point where I crack. I didn't always like what I saw in the mirror. The face of a scared kid crippled by fear. Bumbling around, lost in the dark. Swimming for shore and being circled by sharks. The pressure only taught me how to see. The pain drove me to wanna feel free. Facades collapsed when questions were asked. No adults in the room, I could see through their masks. I learned that I had to fend for myself. Those books wouldn't read themselves sitting on the shelf. So I walk through life with a cigarette in my mouth, and I laugh in their faces when they tell me their doubts. It's not over. I'll fight till my body drops, throwing punches till the music stops. It's not over. Even if you convince them all to hate me, you'll never break me. It's not over. I'll fight till my body drops, throwing punches till the music stops. It's not over. Even if you convince them all to hate me, you'll never break me. I watched the middle class become an endangered species. Watched as all the streets filled with feces. Lived through the rapid decline. Watched as the people on the TV told us it was all fine. I realized I don't have anyone to blame. I can't rewind time, and this is the game. It's actually better that things are getting hard, cause it's an opportunity not to be a retard. I used to be mad until I learned to become effective. Winning is the objective, had to change my perspective. They got printers but they ain't got the truth. Gaslighting, harding, stealing from the youth. Pain is an opportunity and I'm not gonna pass it up. I'm not gonna miss my chance to disrupt. So I'm sticking my middle finger up, saying fuck you clowns. If you get in my way, I'll run you over and won't bother looking down. It's not over. I'll fight till my body drops, throwing punches till the music stops. It's not over. Even if you convince them all to hate me, you'll never break me. It's not over. I'll fight till my body drops, throwing punches never break me. You're only losing if you don't understand the rules. Power corrupts, but so does being a useful fool. It's cool to play the victim if you're a pussy, pointing fingers and shifting blame for life. Not feeling cushy, watching people run their mouths and being uninformed, glorifying slop, screeching at others to conform. And you wonder why you're not seeing change. That's hard to think when you're blinded by range. I'm calm and collected, but still deadly, going for the kill. Purpose steady, performative outrage only will get you so far. It's kinda like putting gasoline in an electric car. Plebs will lap it up till they get bored, and when it comes to history you will be ignored. I'm sitting here laughing, watching you stroke your ego, living my life like I'm an Atlas Shrugged hero. It's not over, I'll fight till my body drops, throwing punches till the music stops. It's not